If you've been watching the previous videos of my house, you would have seen my server rack with the backbone networking and storage setup. With all of that finally done, and after actually moving into the house, it's now finally time for me to set up my computer desk in my office. A few years ago, when I was back in my shed with my dedicated streaming setup, I purchased a sit-stand desk, so now it's time to get it assembled in my new office. It's an L-shaped return desk, and being a sit-stand desk, it has a few components that need to be assembled while it's upside down. Now, with the desk laid out in the position I want it in, it's time to reveal the major plan I've had by buying a larger server rack. You see, my office is right next door to the server room, which is quite convenient. What's even more convenient is that on the other side of the wall is my server rack. With this in mind, I've decided to put my gaming PC and streaming PC in the rack on fixed shelves and simply run the cables through the wall for all the power, monitors and peripherals. Why in the world would I want to do that, I hear you ask? Noise. Just listen. You hear that? That's right. Nothing. Well, maybe next to nothing. When I've done streaming in the past, the biggest hurdle has always been in the background fan noises of the computers running. This also is an issue when I've tried recording stuff for YouTube. Additionally, these computers generate heat, so why not just put all of that in the server room away from me? All I can do is try it out and see how it goes. If it doesn't work, then I can always change it later. So I'm going to be creating pass-through holes in the walls using 50mm communications pipe with bushings on either side. I'm going to use separate holes for the data cables and then the power cables, along with a third hole for the power cables used for the key lights in my blueprint build section of my desk. Now that the holes are done, it's time to actually put the desk together. Being an L-shaped desk, there are 3 legs that lift it up and down. You first assemble the 2 legs for the width of the desk, connecting them to the center beams that provide support for the width. The L-shaped section has another leg positioned similarly. However, it's not until the desk is the right way up that you connect that piece to the desk with some joining bolts. As you can see, there are a lot of pieces that need to be screwed together. Once completely assembled, it's quite a heavy desk. The desk did come with its own cable management tray, however, it had a few drawbacks, mostly being that all the data and power leads were mixed together. It also became quite heavy with everything for 2 computers passing through it. So I had a look on eBay and found these cable management trays that hang from underneath the desk. I decided I would use 2 of these back to back to separate data from power, so I purchased 14 of them. When they arrived, I unboxed them and I was quite impressed. They are a solid piece of steel and the white paint looks great and seems durable. I assembled 1 pair of them and they look like they would work as I intended. Before going any further, I unboxed them all and positioned them to make sure I had enough. With them being positioned back to back, I decided that I would bolt them together as they would be more sturdy as one piece, especially when the brackets they hang from are screwed into the desk. So I headed outside and made a jig to be able to clamp them in position, drill the holes and then bolt them together. A jig is really handy in these situations. I needed to clamp 6 pairs together, so the jig makes it all consistent, as when they are all mounted under the desk they will all be identically placed. With that done, I attached all of the mounting brackets to the trays and I realized here that I needed to put the L-shaped section in place so I could see where they would all be positioned before starting to screw them in. I started off in the corner of the L desk. The position of the leg dictates I can only have 1 tray section here, and then from here I'll work my way along the back of the desk screwing in all the pairs of trays. On the L section of the desk, I cut one of the pieces to size to meet up with the first piece I placed, and then the remaining offcut I placed at an angle so the cables could more easily navigate the leg. Once all of this was placed, I removed the L-shaped section so the table could be turned over. Louise came and helped me out as the table is quite heavy now. I then connected the L-shaped section to the desk, bolted it together, and once I raised it to full height, It looks pretty awesome. I'm very happy with this cable management investment. Now this is all done, it's time to mount the monitor arms to the desk. When I originally ordered the desk, they didn't have any white arms for a larger monitor, so I got a silver one. But while going through this process, I sourced an identical white one and installed it later, as it wasn't pleasing me aesthetically. I connected some power cords to the monitors, and now it's time to focus on power before proceeding. I'm using an APC Smart UPS 3000 rack mount for powering my storage and networking in the server rack. With just that equipment alone, it lasts about 4 hours with no power. So with that in mind, I'm going to power all of my equipment in my computer room from this UPS. The PCs in the racks, monitors, USB hubs, etc. Now the UPS only has 8 power connectors at the rear. However, it also has an IEC C19 female connector, which allows me to connect this 16 amp power strip with 15 C13 female connectors. So I'm going to run all of this equipment from this one strip. I'm going to mount the power strip along the bottom of the rack facing the wall, so as the power cables come through the wall, I'll leave some slack before they are connected to the power strip. So remember those monitors that I connected power cables to? These are the male C13 connectors. So I'm going to cut these cables near the connector, run some black flex cables specifically to the length I need, and then solder the cables back together, sealing with heat shrink and hence making the leads the custom length I require. There won't be any excess, meaning the cable management trays will be nice and neat. Let's be honest, that did take a bit of time to do, however, it was totally worth it. Now it's time to get my gaming PC situated in the rack. An AMD Ryzen 9 3900X, 64GB of DDR4 RAM, and an Inno3D GeForce RTX 3090 iChill X4, all housed inside a Silverstone Farah R1 case. I'm putting some rubber feet on the back of it to prevent it from sliding around on the metal shelf. The power cable is going to be connected to the power strip, held in place with hook and loop tape to keep it organised. On the back of the rack, the vertical right hand side is for power cables only, and the vertical left hand side is for data cables. Next up is the DisplayPort cables for my monitors. The gaming PC only uses 2 of these monitors, as the right hand monitor is for my streaming PC. All of the cables are also hook and loop to the fixed shelf and run through the wall and connected to their peripherals while the desk is in the tallest position, allowing for a loom of slack when the desk is raised and lowered. You don't need to see me cable every one of my peripherals. Needless to say, it was a very exciting moment when I powered on for the first time and everything worked. I was very happy indeed. Now for the L-shaped section of the desk. This is where I have my crafting workspace, and it also needs to be assembled at this point. You see, all the LED key lights I use on this desk connect to my USB power brick I created in the past, and the one drawback is the fan noise that comes from it. Hence, this is the purpose of the third hole in the wall. The power brick is going to be located in the server room, and the USB power cables will simply come through the wall to the key lights. So the reason why I have the blueprint cutting mat made like this is because the largest mat I could get was A0 in size. So I brought a second one to make it fit the desk properly. You see, one edge of the mat has a semicircle on it, so I decided to join these 2 semicircles together, and it makes for a nice aesthetic effect. The reason why I wanted such a large cutting mat is so that I could have it curve up and make the back wall, which makes for a seamless background in videos and pictures. I really like how it looks. Anyways, once I had all the key lights connected up, I also needed to extend those cables in length. And it just so happens that all those broken iPhone charger cables I had been hoarding were the perfect cable to extend these ones. I simply cut them to length and soldered them together. With all that done, I'm very happy how it turned out. The whole desk setup is looking very awesome, and I'm glad I finally have my office set up after moving into my new house. You can see here I've also set up my streaming PC and added the Dell touchscreen monitor as well. Those plastic containers behind the monitors are upside down bins, and inside them are my Thrustmaster T1600 joysticks. It's a great way of keeping them dust free when not in use. Now let's have a look at the cabling under the desk. You can see the left hand hole has 2 looms going into it. One is for the gaming PC and the other is for the streaming PC. The middle hole in the wall is all the power cables. The only devices plugged into the wall is the power for the desk itself and the heater in the corner. The far hole in the wall is for all the USB power cables that go to my USB power brick. So what do you think of my dream PC setup? I've been using it for about 4 months now and I've been loving it. Especially when I started streaming again with the 1.0 release of Satisfactory, I felt really comfortable in my environment. I've made a couple of changes and upgrades since then, which I'll be going over in future videos. Drop me a comment if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Anyways, until next time, bye!